So Jamie, you've had a massive win in the last couple of weeks, or in the last week, in fact. This video for a channel you work with called GrowVeg, called "This Crop is Way Better Than Potatoes and No One Grows It," got 2.4 million views in 2 weeks. That's a lot, but how does it compare to the channel average? What's going on?
We had a really big video for us. It's currently over 17 times the usual views that we get on the channel. And so in the past week, we've actually become the biggest gardening channel in the UK. We're the fastest growing gardening channel in the world. Within 5 days, we actually had 1.7 million views on this video. And now we're over, I think, 2.4 million views just over 2 weeks.
And how many subs have you got?
I think now we've just cracked 900. So when I first started working with this channel, they're around like 400, 420, I believe they are at. That's 1,000, by the way, like 420,000. And so now we've doubled and we've got up to 900K. And we've had some really big videos sort of over the last 3 years. I've been roughly working with them. And I feel like this video is like the epitome of like all of the things that we have worked out that appeals to our target audience together. And within like the last 3 months, we've actually had 3 videos now that have cracked over 1 million views very, very quickly in under a month. And so it feels like we're in this really nice sweet spot now where we kind of know how to engineer a video, and some videos are perfect, like just perfect for that types of engineering in terms of the title and the thumbnail and the video idea, that allows it to break out to new gardeners, appeal to our current gardeners, but also just people who aren't even gardeners but are interested in this particular topic because they just have that curiosity of what's actually happening in the video. So we can talk a little bit about that in this episode.
Yeah,
Cool.
I want to hear all the strategies.
Yes. Initially, I'm curious why you think people were clicking this one in such vast numbers compared to some of the other videos that you've done. What was triggering people to really go for this one?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. And again, this kind of alludes to like 2 other videos that have done well. I think it's because if you are, so the title is "This Crop is Way Better Than Potatoes and No One Grows It." And the thumbnail is the YouTuber Ben tipping over a bucket with a ton of artichokes pouring out of this bucket. And they have these really weird shape. And I think it appeals to, like I said, there's 3 audiences. You have expert gardeners, beginner gardeners, and non-gardeners. I think the expert gardeners, if they are growing potatoes, which most gardeners are, and it's positioned as this is a better crop to grow than potatoes, but no one's growing it. And you look at that thumbnail and you see this weird shape getting poured out of the bucket. As an expert, you're going to think, what the hell was that vegetable? I've never seen that before, right? So you have this perceived knowledge gap where you want to click and find out. I think if you're a beginner gardener, it's the same thing applies, right? You don't know what the hell that is, but apparently there's something that's better than potatoes, which is like the staple of gardening. You know, if you're going to grow any kind of vegetables in your garden, potatoes, tomatoes, cucumbers, these are like the standard things that you grow. And then for beginners, for non-gardeners, I think there's just a lot of people who wonder what the hell this thing is that they're growing that's coming out this bucket. So I think it appeals to all 3. And we actually had a video a couple months back as well, which we can talk about later in this call, which was called, if I can find it, "The Clever Reason Smart Gardeners Hoard Plastic Pots." So like this was like a really nice title that I came up with, and
This
thumbnail.
is a classic Jamie format, the clever way, X, blah, do, blah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's great. Let's break this one down first before we get into the recent one. So I really like that title, "The Clever Reason Smart Gardeners Hoard Plastic Pots." The video itself is essentially just talking about different uses. I think it's like 10 different ways you can use plastic pots in your garden to do various odd jobs. It's not really like that interesting of a video. And we were struggling to come up with a title and thumbnail that would really appeal to people. And I just thought of the word hoard, because that implies like you just having stacks and stacks of them and you don't want to throw them away. And so I came up with that title, "The Clever Reason Smart Gardeners Hoard Plastic Pots." And so if we break that down, again, I think it appeals to all those 3 audiences. If you consider yourself an expert gardener and it says "The Clever Reason Smart Gardeners Hoard Plastic Pots," and you as a clever, smart gardener are not hoarding plastic pots, you feel like you're missing something. You're missing a trick. Like, why aren't I doing that? What is the clever reason? And you want to identify as a smart gardener. And so if you don't know why, if you're not hoarding those pots yourself, you then have to click on that video to find out why. if you are a beginner gardener, you aspire to be a smart gardener. And so you will also want to click on this video. And when you sort of position it where it's like the clever reason, it just feels like there is some sort of novelty there. You know, there's this little hidden trick or hack that I don't know that I want to click on and watch. And in the thumbnail, we actually have Ben, you know, with like this crazy face, you know, with stacks of these plastic pots around him. With like the text saying "don't throw" with an arrow pointing to it. It kind of alludes again, like he's hoarding all of these pots because it's like gold. You know, you don't want to get rid of these things. So if you are throwing them away, again, you've created a bit of FOMO. You know, oh, I'm throwing these things out. What should I actually be doing with them instead? And so this video performed really well. It's currently 1.4 million views. And in the first month, we got 1 million views on that. And so it definitely exploded for us.
I mean, I'm also hoarding plastic pots, just full disclaimer.
Oh, yeah.
In my shed, which was recently torn down, there were just a whole ton of plastic pots that somehow we hadn't gotten around to throwing away. And so I would submit that the third angle is that there are gardeners who are hoarding them for no bloody reason, and they have seen it and they're like, wait, I'm being clever unintentionally. Click. What can I do with these?
That's it. I love that. It makes you feel inadvertently smart. And I think actually that one angle of this title that I really like is actually the implied juxtaposition where usually if you think of someone as a hoarder, it's kind of got a slightly negative frame to it. But being told that actually you're clever if you're doing this negative thing kind of makes you feel like, okay, great. Like this works for me. Great. Okay. I'd love to know why I've been so smart for the last year.
Right. Like the secret reason geniuses always wake up late in the morning. It's like, yes, tell me about it.
So with this particular video, because it did so well, I always say to any of my clients, like if a video does well like that and it's a crazy growth, there's something that's driving that growth. And I think what we've just done here is talk about the reasons of why, you know, that packaging took quite a mundane, boring video of just here's some, you know, hacks to use your pots with in the garden. And it's turned it into like a really interesting video that has got in expert gardeners, beginner gardeners, as well as people who aren't even gardeners that are just inherently interested in this. And whenever you can have something like that, like say, break it apart and understand why did this video perform, and can we then turn this into a repeatable series? I'm very bullish on the idea that if you have something that works, you should try and create standalone videos that are essentially part of repeatable series. So there are certain elements in your thumbnails or titles where there's familiarity. And so people can know, okay, that's a pretty interesting video. I enjoyed it. The next time a video comes along that's quite similar, they're then likely to click it again. Because if you think about videos as if they are, you know, cakes, you have like the ingredients that make the video, that make the cake, right? And so if we take, let's go to Mr. Beast, even, or maybe I shouldn't use Mr. Beast because everyone complains about
people
using Mr.
hate
Beast
it when
as an
we
example.
use it.
I know, but it's just the one that everyone knows, right?
Yeah.
But Mr. Beast is like, his content is basically repeatable series of individual videos that are standalone. So it's like, if you had to think of in your head, like a Mr. Beast video, it's game show component. There's going to be a contestant, money's going to be involved. There's going to be some element of danger or losing that money. If you think about the thumbnails, it's usually Mr. Beast always on the left-hand side, contestants on the right, loads of blues and reds. Like there are things that you can just picture in your head when I say, think of a viral Mr. Beast video. And then he has repeatable series where it's like, okay, the hide and seek series. There's the series where it's the age, like one every, you know, age 1, age 2, age 3, up to 100. And these just different variations of that. The Sidemen, for example, do the same thing. They'll go and do hide and seek, but they'll do it in a mansion, on a private jet, on an island. And you're just taking a concept that people love and finding a one variable that you can tweak. And so if people love that particular series, it's then way easier to say yes to the second video, to the third video, to the fourth video, because you've had a great experience with the last one. And that's how you can encourage binge watching. And so I always say to people, when you have a video that works, try and break down why it worked and if you can turn that into a repeatable series. So with the Grow Veg video that did so well, the clever reason smart gardeners hoard plastic pots, I said, that's like huge. Let's find a way to actually turn this into a series. So the next video we came up with was the clever way smart gardeners make amazing soil. So we changed the clever reason to the clever way. We still kept the smart gardeners because that's clearly a very strong phrase that worked for us. And then we said make amazing soil because we know showing people how to make soil does very well in the gardening niche. And this again blew up. It's currently at 1.1 million views. In that first month, it got 1 million views. And the interesting thing is that usually you want your thumbnails to be quite systematic in that there are similar elements. But here, they were completely different concepts. And so this kind of leads me to believe that the title is actually the strong thing here. And it's this title that is causing most of this growth, not the actual thumbnail, which usually it's titles and thumbnails paired together.
So the new thumbnail is 2 buckets. One bucket has leaves in it, the other has soil in it, and there's an arrow going like from leaves to soil with no person on it. Yeah.
Yeah, with no person on it. This is actually based on a previous video that we did that did very well. That was around 2 buckets with creating soil. So again, like looking back and saying what elements, what kind of compositions, what kind of things are we showing or not showing in our thumbnails that is resulting in higher views? Can we remix them and create a new original video that's standalone that uses elements that we know will perform? This worked for us, and we've now actually gone through the process of creating a lot of different videos. So we have the clever way smart gardeners stop seedlings dying. This now has 287k views, which is 2.5 times our usual views. Again, we've got very bad looking seedling that's dead, and then one on the right that's grown quite nicely. We have this "it's not luck" phrase in the thumbnail, which is a phrase that we've done a lot of A/B testing with, and we found that "it's not luck" works for us. And, you know, it implies that there's some sort of system or things that you can follow to stop your seedlings dying, which is a common problem that people have. So for us, we were always looking at like, what are the big problems? And for most people, it's like wanting to create soil, stopping their seedlings from dying, growing bigger, better harvests. You know, this is what we want to do. And so we've created a number of videos in this series now, which have performed quite well for us.
What, are there any elements from that you've used in this latest video that blew up, or is that a different format, different template?
So the latest one is completely different. It was, again, like an independent video that we tried creating that's performed well. And so now we'll be looking at how we can turn that one into a repeatable series of standalone videos. But we did engineer this particular video because, like I said, when we're dealing with an experimental video, when we're trying to find a new repeatable series that we could create on the channel, you don't want to go down this path of like guessing. You want to essentially stop guessing and understand why people click. And that's really what we did here. So we looked at some of the biggest things that had performed on our channel. So GrowVeg's biggest video has the phrase "plant once, harvest forever" in the thumbnail. That's got 5.1 million views after 3 years. And so we used that phrase in the latest video because we knew it worked well, because it speaks to our target audience, which we've kind of come to define as the lazy gardener, because a lot of these people just want things done fast, quickly, no effort. And so including that in the thumbnail was really, really strong. And it's, like I said, this is now our 3rd biggest video. So I actually think it will end up overtaking the original "Plant Once, Harvest Forever" video from 3 years ago, because it's already, you know, grown so much in 2 weeks. But for this particular video, we looked at things like the yellow arrow. We know for us, like the yellow arrow, whenever we've done A/B testing, has resulted in higher clicks. We've got more people watching, and so that's why in almost all of our thumbnails we have a yellow arrow. So in a previous video that had done well for us, it was called "Potato Growing Masterclass: My Tips for a Bigger, Better Harvest," and this actually has 700,000 views. And this, in the thumbnail, was Ben tipping over a bucket with a potato, loads of potatoes in this dark soil. And so this was a composition that had worked well for us, and we did this again with another video for growing shallots, which is better than onions, and that performed very well for us. And so that title was "Shallot Growing Masterclass: Better Than Onions." And so this whole idea of like, this crop is way better than potatoes, we've kind of like borrowed that same title structure, but we've used potatoes, which is way more popular than onions. And I think this "and no one grows it" is really interesting. I just think it taps into this psychological trigger, you know, that there's this alternative option that has made people click.
So breaking down the thumbnail, sorry, George, real quick, breaking down the thumbnail is entirely a remix of past stuff. You've got "Plant Once, Harvest Forever." which is your top viewed video, has that same text. And you've got tipping out a bucket of stuff, which is also a format. So thumbnail is totally covered. Sorry, George, carry on.
Sure. No, so I was going to ask, because with all of this stuff, like I hear what you're saying, that you should basically, you never want to start from a position of completely guessing. But I'm curious with this particular video, and generally for people who are kind of looking to get inspired for their next piece of content, what was the initial trigger for you thinking we should make this video? Was it going back and seeing, oh, our most popular video of all time is this, so this is the kind of phrase we should try and build a video around? Or was it, oh, these thumbnails have done really well with tipping things out of buckets, we should do that again? Do you remember like where that spark started and where people should be looking for that initial piece of inspiration?
Mm-hmm. So with the actual video idea, that was not my choice. Ben, the YouTuber, kind of has things that he wants to talk about, and he just comes up with the video ideas. And then on the call, we spend time essentially trying to workshop the title and thumbnail to make it work. I'm always kind of saying to the team, I think that we should be planning further out in advance, because I would rather focus on video ideas that have a high potential of going viral based on what we know works, as opposed to finding a topic that they want to speak about and then trying to have strong packaging for it. I think it's better to do it the inverse. And so with this one, we've had a lot of masterclass videos in our channel that have done well, or we basically just rotate through a bunch of different vegetables. And artichokes was the next one. And so we could have gone down the path of, artichoke growing masterclass, which we've done in the past, and it's performed very well for us with a number of different masterclass episodes. But artichokes isn't really that interesting of a vegetable. And so that's why we positioned it as having like common crop, better alternative, using potatoes and then saying artichokes is actually something that you should probably be considering.
That's such an interesting point. Actually, it's made me think of something that does come up occasionally inside my script writing community, is where people who they're really passionate about talking about a particular thing, but it's about thinking, okay, somebody who's potentially coming across my channel or who might be searching for something in this particular niche, is the kind of key phrase of this video, in this case, artichokes, something that they care about naturally, or do they need to be convinced to care about it by facing them with something that is something they'd be searching for, is something they're interested in, and kind of alluding to, like you say in this case, hey, it's a better alternative, but I'm not telling you what it is, because if you saw the word artichokes in the title, maybe you'd think, ugh. So I guess it's always thinking from an audience first perspective. What do they care about? And if they don't care about this yet, how can I like twist the title and the packaging to make them care about it?
That's something I spoke with Justin about, Justin Moore, who works on sponsorships. I looked at his channel and I kind of got the impression that people don't really want to click on sponsorship content because everyone associates sponsorships with hard work, effort, ickiness. So my thinking was, let's pivot towards how you can, the new source of revenue for your channel that you haven't thought about, something like that.
Yeah, I think like if he just positioned it around making money with like very simple tweaks that you could do. Like if he could position the video where it's like basically making yourself open to sponsors, so it's easy for them to work with you. Like most creators would want to do that. Like if he can position it as low effort and you can end up with tons more money, and you never mention sponsorships in the packaging, people will click, because most creators on YouTube need money to continue doing it. And a lot of people get into YouTube because they want to make money. So like I say, you never really want to have sponsorships in your titles and thumbnails, except for a couple that are for the people who are like, problem aware, solution aware, and they realize, okay, I have sponsorships now, but I need to have the ultimate guide, to sponsorships. People will watch those. But for a lot of people, they don't even know that they could be making a lot of good money from sponsorships with a small audience. And that's where I think Justin, would want to package it around, here's how you make money, quite simply, through shout outs in your content.
Which is true, because like it's just like the unsexy version of like, hey, passive income, or hey, AI tools that will make you $1,000 an hour while you're asleep. It's like, it's all the same ultimate goal, but it's like for some reason that is slightly sexier in 2024, 2025 than sponsorships maybe ever will be when you acknowledge them.
I think this is the key thing as well here for like most people who are listening to this, who have their own YouTube channel. I would say success leaves clues. And so look back at your past 10 best performing videos and reverse engineer what made them work, just like what I did with this particular channel. If you don't have a lot of high performing videos, for example, Justin, he should go and look at other people that are in the space that are making content that's doing very well, but it doesn't mention sponsorships, but it is about sponsorships. Go and look at those videos and understand why it resonated. Are there any patterns that are standing out? For me, what I'm always looking at with not just packaging on Grow Veg's channel, but competitors and even people in other niches, is there like a particular phrase? Is there a recurring phrase? Is there a visual style? Is there kind of colors that pop? Is there certain compositions? What kind of ideas are there that's resonating? What kind of titles do they have? Can we create our own version of it? Because when you can find your formula and you refine it, then you can repeat it. And like I said, that's how we've really grown Grow Veg's YouTube channel. I know in a previous episode of Making It, we spoke about a repeatable series I created in with a sow these seeds in insert month here. If you want to listen to that episode, we'll put a link in the description. But it's very similar. Like that was one of the big drivers for this channel's growth. And we have like a number of these. Like I said, the masterclass one, we now have the Clever Way Smart Gardeners X series. And this crop is way better than potatoes and no one grows it is going to be another series. And so you just want to find loads of different ways of having standalone videos that fit into repeatable packaging that makes it easier for people to say yes. And so like I say, if you're at home listening to this and you're thinking, what can I do? Go look at your last 10 performing best videos. Break down the packaging. Why did it work? What kind of videos were you making? If you don't have any performing videos, go and look at competitors. Because if I had to break this Grow Veg one down, I would say the formula is basically common crop, arrow, better alternative, potatoes to artichokes. It's a proven thumbnail structure for us where we have this Ben tipping over a bucket of the crop. We have multiple videos that have performed doing that. And we had this plant once, harvest forever, which we know taps into the psychology of these lazy gardeners who want to just do something once and forever have vegetables. So yeah, don't hesitate to reuse what works, as your audience really won't remember your old videos as much as you do, because I know that's quite a common fear that people have.
Jamie, can I make a request? Because I fairly often say that people focus too much on titles and thumbnails, not because they're not important, but because it's easier to discuss than an intro or a hook. Can we watch the first 30 seconds and get your analysis of it?
Yes, let's do that.
Ooh. Everyone loves potatoes, but did you know there's a vegetable that's even easier to grow, tastes delicious, and needs almost no care?
So that already, like if we pull up the transcript of this, just so we can look at this side by side and we look at the actual words of that hook, everyone loves potatoes. But did you know there's a vegetable that's even easier to grow, tastes delicious, and needs almost no care? This, again, is like very strong words to say that back up the expectations that were created by the title and thumbnail. We're not saying in the title and thumbnail, this crop is way better than potatoes and no one grows it, and then we start off and say something completely different. We're reaffirming proof, essentially, that we are going to be talking about what we said in the title and thumbnail.
I was just going to add to that. I also think you're really directly calling out your target audience. Like you said earlier, the lazy gardener, that's perfect for me. It's easier, tastier. I'm sold.
Yeah. And also I want some variety as well, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the key line as well is like, almost needs no care. That's really appealing. People don't want to do work. This is actually one of the things, just to talk about like the psychographics of our particular target audience member here. As you said there, we call them the lazy gardener. It's because all of the videos that have performed well for us, the packaging has always been telling people step by step how to do things, when to do it, how to do it, where to do it. If you think about like the sow these seeds in August video that did so well for us, that packaging and the entire concept of the video was telling them exactly what seeds to grow in that particular month and how to do it, because they don't want to think. And Grow Veg's actual product that they offer, which is incredible, it's an iPad app that is a garden planner, because people want to be able to just not think and have someone do it for them. And so this was like very strong sentence to open with in the hook.
The artichoke or sunchoke, and it's an all-round garden star.
So I think this is actually an interesting point here that Ben reveals that it's an artichoke right away. There will be some people out there who'd probably be like, let's kick the can down the road and not show them what this interesting vegetable is, because the title and thumbnail has opened up that knowledge gap in their mind where they want to know what the vegetable is. But we just thought, let's give it away straight away, because, we need to get into the information. We want to get into revealing what the vegetable is. And so why delay it any further? Because we want to get to the point where we're actually showing how to grow this thing, and very fast.
As we're about to find out. Let me show you. And here we are, my artichoke patch. Now, it doesn't look like much, does it? But believe me, under here are untold riches, planted last year, and I've been saving them till this very moment to dig them up. Shall we?
Oh,
this
I
was
love
something-
this.
He's so cool. I love his way. I just love his whole
Yeah,
demeanor.
Ben is like such an engaging person to listen to. I think he is like a huge component for why this YouTube channel is a success.
Yeah.
And he's outside as well. It would be so, imagine it. So people who are listening on audio, he's outside in the garden walking around with his wellies. And it would be so much worse if he was sat indoors behind a desk with some seated A-roll with B-roll. And this is building in the suspense of he's actually there. He's actually going to dig it up. He's my guy. He's in the garden as well. He's not just telling me what to do. He's showing me what he does.
One of the things that we A/B tested quite a lot actually was starting off the videos with momentum. And so we usually start off the videos with Ben walking, picking up a tool, already in the process of digging or pulling the vegetable out the ground, rather than this stable, just stood there talking, hi, welcome to the channel. This is what we're going to do. We love to kind of just click on the video and we're already into Ben doing something because you wonder what he's about to do. And I think if you look back at this again, you'll see that he's immediately walking. He's already walking through the scene. As he approaches the bed where the artichokes are. So what I think is really nice here as well, if we listen to it again, you'll see that we basically keep people hooked in terms of the retention, because we could already show Ben pulling out the artichokes out of the ground, but we've really left it where like there's a reveal. And so you're watching him dig through, move the leaves, start to dig through the soil to then start pulling up these artichokes.
It doesn't look like much, does it? But believe me, under here are untold riches, planted last year, and I've been saving them till this very moment to dig them up. Shall we? There are many reasons to grow Jerusalem artichokes, and this right here is one of them. Jerusalem artichokes are one of the most prolific vegetables you can grow, and they're one of the easiest, because unlike, say, potatoes, the tubers can stay in here all winter to lift up as they are needed at your convenience. No special storage required.
So that's like, again, like appealing to the lazy gardener that you can, and again, what it says in the thumbnail text of planting once and harvest forever. As soon as these guys are in the ground, you can pull them up when you want to eat them. You don't have to worry about storage like you do with something like garlic, for example. And, you know, it's clear there that Ben is explaining things whilst he's pulling the leaves away from the bed, as opposed to just stood there directly talking to the camera, which would be a little bit boring. There's just this momentum that we've got in the first minute. You know, we're 55 seconds in, but it doesn't feel like we've had a moment to pause. There's been those slow things, but it doesn't feel like it's a Mr. Beast video where you're getting 1,000 things thrown in your face at once. It feels like there's this natural progression.
This reminds me as well of YouTubers who are, what is it? Is it like FIFA Ultimate Team? They're unwrapping they're opening what like
The
team
cards,
they've gotten, the cards, this week's cards, and they're unwrapping them on screen.
So any final thoughts, Jamie?
I think final thoughts, people listening, you know, here's some actionables that you can apply to your own YouTube channel. Start to see YouTube growth more of as like a system. You know, it's not an accident. Sometimes you might uncover a video like this one, which has done very well. But again, always go back to breaking it down and understanding why. If you're still throwing random videos at the wall, hoping something sticks, I think you're playing the wrong game, essentially. You know, you can do that for a period of time when you're trying to improve being on camera, your video editing, your lighting. But once you're like an established YouTuber, you actually do need to have a little bit more strategy, a little bit more of a, you know, strategic approach to the types of content you create and how you're positioning those videos. Because growth really happens when you study your audience. You know, I've mentioned it a number of times. I'm always mentioning it in my newsletter. You really want to learn what makes your target audience click by tapping into the psychographics of your target audience. You know, what words stand out to them? What kind of emotions get them to click on videos? what is it that their end goal? You know, once you start to really dig into these different kinds of areas, that's when you can start to pull a lot of that strategy into your titles and thumbnails to make videos that actually appeal to them. And then once you've got people clicking, that's when you need to repeat what works. So finding ways to take those winning elements and remix them into new videos, create standalone videos that are part of a repeatable series, so people can binge watch your videos because they know that there's one key element that you're changing video to video, but overall the video format is strong and something that they like watching. And then the third thing, if you can do it, as I said, is to use like this deep versus wide strategy, where you want to make videos that are simple and valuable, but they appeal to both the beginners and the experts. And if you can position your titles and thumbnails in a way that does that, you end up with a ton more views than if you had something that was really, really specific and niche. You know, I could go on a whole rant about how you approach that, because obviously don't take that at face value. Not every single video needs to have this deep and wide approach. Sometimes you want to have videos that are very wide. They're for beginners. It's to get you loads of views and new people at the top of the funnel of your YouTube channel. And other times you want to have really deep videos that are in depth, that are specific for, you know, a smaller amount of people, but they're more targeted. And I think this is especially true if you're a business and you're trying to sell something. But ideally, you would appeal to both.
One last thing that's just popped into my mind is I think identifying the lazy gardener is pretty interesting. I think almost every niche could think, what video should I do if I assume that my audience is really lazy and wants to get great results? So like our last episode was literally how to get more subscribers without uploading any videos, right? And it's 1 out of 10, did really well. I think that applies to any genre, like how to get this result in a crazy short amount of time.
Thanks so much for listening to this. If you want to check out another episode from us where we talk a little bit about GrowVeg's other strategy that really blew up their YouTube channel, we'll leave a link in the description for you below.